Hi. So I would like to talk about the fact that Cosmos is not a democracy and should not be a democracy. We are something better than a democracy. Um, so democracies map to individuals. Okay, so like in the United States, one individual can vote once in each election. And I mean, if we think of the nation as collective property or a collective endeavor, this, quite frankly, makes a lot of sense. However, the reality is people are like we're not equal to each other. Okay, in many ways, like we're just not the same. I mean, a few examples, right? Like, so I'm a fat dude, right? And I think that I'm better with computers than most people. Um, I think that if this were about running marathons or playing football, you would choose somebody else. Okay? And if you wanted a prize fighter, you would most likely choose somebody else. My whole point, if you wanted a chef, you'd probably choose somebody else. The key thing that I'm driving at here, okay, is that people are not equal, but also people are not one dimensional. Um, and it's actually this digital governance stuff that is going to allow us to realize that. My opinion is that in the future, um, more and more people will be like members of multiple online communities or even real world communities, because one of the things I'm most excited about with Cosmos is applying it like to the physical world. And you could do that by starting a microstate, a so-called network state. When network state, by the way, you get it going, I will move there because all this government stuff is boring and opaque and adds unnecessary friction to our lives. Um, so we built something better than democracy because in the chef DAO or the chef chain, okay, people who are far better at cooking than I am are gonna have a hell of a lot more steak. Okay, in the photography DAO, same thing. Um, and on and on and on and on and on. Remember, governance tokens aren't money, but they're valuable. This is really important to keep in mind. If you treat them like money, I don't think you'll actually quite see what they could be. Now, all right, back to like, we are not one dimensional creatures. What's some stuff about me? Well, other than liking blockchain technology, um, I've got a 3-year-old kid. Um, I love to learn about, like, oh, what can I teach on it today? Or just questions to ask him. It's fascinating to watch his brain develop. And so that's like one constituency of me. Okay. Currently, I practice politics, I suppose professionally, um, in 30 different online communities that I have some kind of alignment with. Now, this Senate stuff in the Lunk case, okay? One, you want to talk about it? Write it out. Yeah, I want to know exactly what you're proposing. I don't. And So I pretty much reject it because reality is that the validators have been elected by their delegators to represent them both in governance and in consensus. And my friends, this matters very much. When Osmosis had that security problem and was exploited to the tune of about $5 million, the extent to which validators could help by stopping the chain was determined by their level of vote power on the network. We had to amass 33% of the network's total vote power, and those validators need to go down so that the chain would stop making blocks. That's how we halted it, okay? Notice, we did that without asking you. We did that because you chose us to represent you and to do our best for you. There is no need for an additional Senate layer. Furthermore, stakeholders can already veto anything. This idea of a Senate as a vetoing body is not good. Han bu hao. Wo bu shi huan. It's very bad. I don't like it. And indeed, I really don't. What that really does is kind of subvert the existing process. And look at me, I used the S word. Maybe I really am Jay's proxy. I'm joking, by the way, sarcastically, but whatever. It really does. It changes the existing process, and honestly, any chain that had like a vetoing Senate, I'm not really sure we'd stick around with it, because the governance solution that's outlined in Cosmos is far better than democracy. Democracy sucks. It does not produce good outcomes. However, really well-run corporations, they produce incredible outcomes. And a really critical component of that is making decisions based on your level of ownership, your stake weight. We do that in Cosmos. Our team does that probably once a day now with, various governance proposals. And again, I want to posit that is, one, better than most forms of corporate governance, mainly because most forms of corporate governance feature dual class share structures that disenfranchise, typically just, normal people, retail, your average Joes. I think that's bad. In Cosmos, if you hold one atom, you vote with one atom, as long as it's staked. I think that's remarkably fair. Now, as for, are the vast differentials in wealth in the world fair? Not even remotely. Speaking as a person who I was quite poor at one point, genuinely, and it sucks. You always have to think about money, right? I hate that. I'm trying to eliminate that for my business as well. So if you'd like to delegate to Notional, please do. We currently do think about money and budgets too much. And it kind of hinders your creativity. Whole point being, though, we can't solve that. We are not going to solve inequality. And furthermore, people do not have equal skill sets and just are not the same. I like to view this in the more optimistic standpoint, okay? I like to view this as everybody has their area to excel, and by tearing down the barriers to organizing together and working together effectively, we can give the opportunity to excel. Good night.